afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Leicester City this weekend. And if we can start off with Kirsty from Sky, please.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, good.
Check your team news. Are there any changes from last weekend at all?
No changes for us. We've had a pretty good week of a bit of recovery for the lads and training. A couple of little niggles, but hopefully we'll be the same as we were.
You showed fantastic spirit last weekend to get that win. What's that done for the mood around the place, and how important that you keep that momentum going now?
Yeah, we did show a fantastic spirit, a fantastic performance, fantastic work ethic, a really good collective feeling of players, fans, stadium. And when you're in that position, you need everyone to work in the same direction. It makes you so much stronger, and we felt that. So yeah, it's really important that we keep that for the remaining games.
You're playing a Leicester side who we saw lose in Europe last night. They conceded from a corner. It's been a real issue for them, set pieces this season. Is that something you can look to exploit?
We'll always try and focus on ourselves and corners and set pieces for and against in every game, and try and have a good understanding about the opposition. But I wouldn't sort of try and presume we'll give them a problem because of past history. But we have to be very focused at both ends of the pitch and hope we can be strong, because they can dictate the outcome of games.
With that in mind, focusing on yourselves, you've got Burnley playing the day before. How hard is it not to be distracted by their results and whether it pulls them further away from you or not?
Well, realistically, everyone's going to sort of listen in or see the results. Last week we saw it. It was a positive for Burnley. We went and had a positive result. It wasn't so positive for Leeds. We went and had a positive result. Ideally, it doesn't affect how you prepare. It won't affect how we prepare, but it doesn't affect how we approach and perform in the game. That's completely on us.
After a positive weekend, there was one negative for you this week with that FA charge. I don't know how much you can say about it, but as a manager, particularly with so much at stake, how hard is it for you to keep your emotions in?
Well, it's an emotional game, isn't it? And my first job is to protect Everton Football Club, for the players, for the club itself, and for the fans. But I can't talk about. I've got a reply to the FA, and at this point, I can't speak any more about it. And
have you had much contact with the FA in terms of what's happening with Richarlison, and are you concerned with some crucial games ahead that you may lose him?
It's another one I can't go into, and it's being looked at by the police at the moment, and we as a club are doing everything we can to communicate with them as well as we can, so that takes that time.
And just in terms of keeping hold of needing your players now for these games, you also need them to stand up, don't you, and be counted. We saw Jordan Pickford, a fantastic performance from him last weekend. Is it crucial that key players like him lead by example?
Well, I think since I've been here, I came in and lost 2 frontline centre-backs in my first week. So Yerry Mina for 10 weeks, Ben Godfrey for 5 weeks. Ben's now missing again. Dominic's one of England's number 9s, and I've missed him for a big portion in terms of injury, and when he's come back, trying to get him fit. So Andros Townsend's now out till next season. So in terms of needing key players, yeah, because we've been really up against it. I think probably as much, if not more, than any team in the league. The numbers of missed days do back that up. But at the moment, we've got a group of players that are hungry, that are fighting. From what we've seen in recent games, that has to stay and get better. And then beyond that, the talents, and seeing a performance like Jordan Pickford's last week is the added bonus, and the things that we need to all come together.
Great. All the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsty. We'll go to James Cooper at Premier League Productions, please.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
I guess the value of what you did against Chelsea is only going to be reflected by what you do against Leicester City. That's probably been what you've been saying to the players this week.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a nice bounce, a nice feeling for everybody, but reality kicks in a day or so later. The next games are the most important ones, absolutely. 2 games away from home where we haven't performed as well as we want to all season. So it's critical and crucial for us that we approach these games with a real understanding and a real focus.
Did the fans kind of give you a touch point throughout the week as well in terms of reminding the players what it means to them? I know they don't need to be reminded, but that was something special.
Certainly against Chelsea they did, because they showed their passion and desire, and it's something that the players must reflect on the pitch. And we saw it at first hand before the game. We appreciated it greatly before the game, but the appreciation is always shown in your performance and after the game, and we did that. Players performed, and on the stadium, on the pitch at the end, you could feel the feeling. And now it's important that we continue that.
Is the reality you're going to have to win away from home to stay in the Premier League, do you think?
That probably comes down to maths and the games we've got left and what everyone else does. But the reality is, if we want to take things into our own hands, in terms of every game we have 3 away from home. So it's hugely important that we affect it in terms of how we've been playing away and the results we've been getting and what we do in the next 2 games that are in front of us.
Just a final one from me, and apologies if you didn't ask before. I don't want to ask about you being a fighter, if you like. People will think you've had so much success during your career, but that success, I imagine, doesn't come easily. You almost have to fight as hard to do that, to become successful, don't you?
I think it's life, isn't it? I think it's in life, things at face value on the outside, if you generalise, can look like they were all roses in my career. They certainly weren't. In fact, if you ask me, I could probably go quicker to the tough times and the failures than I can the successes. And I think it's important that through tough times you are judged in the long term about how you fight back from them and get to all success. We don't know what that is for us at Everton now in the longer term. In my short time here, I've come into a position where we want to get a short-term result, which is to stay in the league, and that's crucial for us. And then look at what successes hopefully we can work towards after that. And at the moment, we don't know what they look like.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Alistair McGowan at the BBC, please.
Cheers. So you mentioned there sort of the tough times you've had in your career. How do you sort of, or what examples have you sort of reflected on, sort of compared to what you're going through now? I mean, is it something like you've sort of been through a tough time, so this seems a bit easier, or how does it compare?
I don't know. I played professional football for 20 years, so there are countless ones. I won't want to bore you with all of them now. It's professional football. It's, for me personally, I went to World Cups. We wanted to have successes. We didn't always have that. At Chelsea, I could go through things in my career, but then they're not important now. I'm not reflecting on those now. Those things just build up over time and give you a certain amount of resilience, maybe in terms of dealing with pressure, difficult results, difficult moments. So they'd be part of any player or person's career that spends so long in this game.
And do you think that maybe, given what's happened these few results recently at home particularly, that you're sort of maybe changing a few minds in terms of, you've always operated at the top end of football, maybe going for championships, and I know you said it's similar. It's a similar battle to maybe being at the bottom, but do you think you've changed people's minds about how you can deal with a relegation battle?
Not yet. Not yet, because we're still in it. We're still in the battle, and if you approach it in the idea of trying to change people's minds on the outside, it's probably the wrong way to do it. You just have to go about your job, and I'm not a better manager sitting there after the win at Chelsea last week than I was maybe sitting after the defeat against Tottenham. You just live and learn, and you try and prepare yourself for the next game, and that's challenging when you're in this battle because you have losses. That's why you're down towards the bottom reaches of the table. But on the flip side of it, the challenge for me and the challenge for the players now, what we're in, you can flip it to be a positive, because if we manage to get where we want to be, it could be a huge thing for this club, and that's where we're at.
You mentioned after the game on Sunday that in addition to the fans sort of inspiring you to victory, there was a bit of, you called it prodding, going on, where you were sort of maybe laying down the law a little bit with the players as well. Given that seemed to work, have you done any more prodding in terms of trying to get an away win?
Possibly. In terms of in the build-up to the game, when you have a long week, there are some days where you want to come off away from the players and let them recover or train at a certain level, and there are some days where they have to really focus on what's in hand. And I just felt before the Chelsea game it was very important the players understood not only the position we're in, that's quite general, but in terms of what they individually can do to help us get out of it. And that started against Chelsea. And yeah, so now there's a different problem in front of us now. Last week was against one of the best teams in the country. This week is against a fantastic team away from home where we've been poor, and then we go to Watford. So I'll approach it to try and get us in the best possible shape for those games.
And can you take anything from that spirit that was around Goodison to the away game as well? Is there any plans to sort of, improve the connection with the fans while you're away from home?
That's up to us, that connection. Our fans travel. They travel in great numbers and they support the team. And the fact that we've lost games this season, too many games away from home, is absolutely on the players. So we have to link that connection in our away form.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alistair. We'll go to James Mountford, please, at Radio Merseyside.
Hi Frank.
Hi.
Can I just check on some fitness issues? Richarlison had a bit of cramp. Is he okay now?
Yeah. Richie's got a bit of a sore ankle from the ankle we twisted at Liverpool. That's sort of been around since then, but he hopefully will be fine.
And just the progress on Ben Godfrey, Andre Gomez and Donny van der Beek?
Andre's back in the squad for selection. Donny's not, and Ben Godfrey is not fit, and hopefully will be training with us in the middle of next week.
You've looked a lot more solid in the last couple of games. Ironically, maybe since that Burnley defeat, is there anything in that? And what do you think you've got perhaps in the last couple of games that you didn't have earlier in your tenure at least?
Well, there's lots of different things when you analyse games afterwards. There can be games where you're solid and make individual errors, or you have a momentum in a game and make errors that change the flow of the game. That happened at Burnley and West Ham. And there have been games where we've been more solid or not so solid for different reasons, but it's something you always work towards in terms of being compact as a team. And when you play against teams of the level of Liverpool and Chelsea, as difficult as a challenge it is, sometimes the message can be even clearer about the spaces you don't want to give away. So the players now have to look at every game as it comes and make sure we keep that nature that makes us difficult to play against and to score against.
The way you set up last week with the three-man defence, was that something for that particular game, or was it something you'd like to go forward with?
It was certainly for that game in a tactical sense, because we were a good understanding of Chelsea, and having watched their games previously, the game against Manchester United the 3 days before, I felt it was really important for us to change our system to be able to affect the game. But every game brings different challenges, and sometimes the feelings to have more attacking options on the pitch, or to feel that you're different, you can press higher with more people higher at the pitch, is something that we have to go game by game on.
And finally, Leicester City, disappointing result for them last night. What do you think of the challenge that awaits you on Sunday?
A really tough challenge, and I'm not sure what reflection last night's game has on our game. Will they be disappointed? Yes. Does that make some games more dangerous? Yes. Can we go and be at our best and try and go at a time when they're in disappointment? Possibly. You know, those things are all up in the air. What you do know, which is a constant, is that Leicester have got fantastic players and a fantastic coach. I know that firsthand from knowing Brendan really well. So he'll have ideas and enough in his squad, because it's a strong squad, to put out a very good team against us and play in a very good way. You know, I've got so much respect for what Brendan's done in his time at Leicester and the force that they are as a team. And we have to be at our best to get a result there. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Are there any further questions in the room for the open section or on Zoom at this point?